Hello everybody, and welcome to my third Q&A. This time we have quite a couple of questions, so let's go over them. First off, SPAC93805 asks, what is your opinion on the PRR S1? It certainly looks amazing, but I honestly wish that it functioned a lot better than it actually did. In fact, that's a lot of the reason why the T1 was chosen to be mass-produced over the S1, because the T1 worked better than the S1. Also, it would have been cool if the PRR actually preserved the S1. Brink Mayflowers asks, do you think we'll get widespread electrification at some point? If another train-supportive government comes in, maybe. But even then, I think the electrification will be mostly confined to, like, the busiest of lines. Mainly some of the priority main lines like on the BNSF and Union Pacific. Not necessarily secondary mains like the Fort Collins sub. But yeah, I do see primary main lines and some passenger corridors being electrified if any electrification programs do start up. Also, have any recent hobbies? Unless you mean any other hobbies, I also like airplanes, anime, video games, frisbee, and I have been getting a bit into Transformers recently too. LA Rail Videos asks, favorite model train brand? LGB. Favorite airplane? DC-10. Favorite short line? GWR. Favorite fallen flag? Rio Grande and Southern Pacific. Blue Comet 833 asks, what's my opinion on furries? Well, although furries are common, I don't exactly support them that much, but at the same time, I wouldn't exactly flip out if you said I like furries or I am a furry. What's my opinion on Therians? CDTX 2052 official asked, thoughts on CDTX 2052? I think the paint scheme worn by CDTX 2052 looks amazing. Do I foam? Please. Do I foam? Please be honest. After looking at your channel, I think you do foam. Just a Teenage Railfan asks, is water wet? Yes. If a birthday cake can be any flavor, what flavor is a birthday cake ice cream? Probably a combination of maybe French vanilla and chocolate, probably? I'm not entirely sure. The Winnipeg Railfan asks, if I had an infinite budget, what extinct narrow or standard gauge steam engine type would I revive? Probably the Rio Grande 484 Westerns. What are my top 5 favorite anime characters? In no particular order, Shiro, Shana, Konada Izumi, Kana de Tachibana, and Haruhi Suzumiya. What do I think railroading will be like in 3 months? Probably with Canadian and Mexican railroads doing really well, and while US railroads will be doing decently, they probably won't be making nearly as much revenue and traffic volumes as the year before. If not, with traffic volumes being way down than last year. That or there's been a mass uprising in America.
Sing a song of angry men.
ISVS 999 asks, how do you get an H1 on BNSF? Pray. If you can't find an H1 during your first time on BNSF, should you reach for a different goal? Yeah. If you don't have a chance to see a BNSF H1-9 in 2025, will any get preserved in 2026? For the people who can't get one in 2025, I was hoping they could get preserved in a museum and restored them and kept them inactive on that trackage. Well, I only pray that an H1-9 gets preserved. Do I prefer ES44DCs or C44-9Ws? C44-9Ws. What's my favorite GE locomotive and what is my favorite EMD locomotive? My favorite GE locomotive is the AC4400CW and my favorite EMD locomotive is the SD70 Mac. The Pancho Villa 639 asked, if I had the money, what abandoned railroads would I bring back? Tennessee Pass, the Nickel Plate line in Indianapolis and Noblesville, and the Milwaukee Road Pacific extension. If I could travel in time, what extinct locomotives would I preserve for the future? A Southern Pacific MT class locomotive, a Rio Grande 484, a Rio Grande 482, a Rio Grande 2882, a Western Maryland Challenger, a B&O EM1, Big 6, and 482, a NYC Hudson, Mikado, and 10-wheeler, a Western Pacific 2882, a Northern Pacific 2882, a Southern Pacific Yellowstone, a Northern Pacific Yellowstone, and a Western Maryland Potomac. Yeah, that's a mouthful, I know. Favorite train horn? K3LA. Should Madam Queen 18SF500 return to Steam? Yes. What inspired me to join YouTube? Well, I was inspired by a lot of train YouTubers and especially MSTS YouTube videos. Though one of the biggest inspirations was Millennium Force, which made me want to record my own videos of trains. So yeah, it was mostly a lot of MSTS videos, especially a lot of MSTS crash videos, as well as Millennium Force and a variety of other railroad YouTubers, like this one railroad YouTuber called Whistle Post Productions, which I distinctively remember a horn salute video of various Amtrak Silver Service trains in the Orlando area, and for some reason that channel is long gone. I don't know what's happened to it, but for some reason it's just gone. Ashton Studio Productions asked, what are my favorite smaller channels? Jimmy Lambert, Penzi Fan 19, Andrew Railabamers, aka Andrew the Rocket City Rail Fan, Trains Are Awesome, Cal Unit Productions, and in case those count, The Unlucky Tug and Amtrak Guy 365. Did I ever think my channel would ever get this popular? Kinda. I was honestly hoping that it would get popular through my travel vids, but instead it became popular with the train memes vids. Though ultimately, those train memes felt more like a burden than a benefit, and I ultimately decided to end those videos. But honestly, I feel better without them, and I'm still gaining popularity and subs without them. What fallen flag do I think should arise from their grave? Either the Rio Grande or the Southern Pacific. Hey, maybe even both. We can always go Canadian Pacific Kansas City style and call it Southern Pacific Rio Grande. What got me into Splatoon? Well, I was only about 10 or 15 people on the planet that ever owned the Wii U. In case you didn't know, that was the successor to the Wii, and it flopped hard. Amtrak had more riders in FY 2024 than Wii U sold, just for comparison. So 2015 comes around, and honestly I didn't really care much for the announcements because I didn't know about it, but on Christmas Day in 2015, my dad got me and my sister Splatoon for the Wii U, and we started playing that quite a bit. And honestly, it ultimately got so fun for me. I don't think my sister really latched on, but that's probably because she moved out of the house later on and now she has her own place and her own Nintendo Switch. And I would get both the Nintendo Switch and Splatoon 2 in 2018, and later on Splatoon 3 in 2022 for Christmas. It's a fun game to play for me personally. And I have launched an SD38 towards your location. Start running. Okay, I'm running. Southern Ontario Rails asks, opinion on Amtrak 301? I genuinely think that Amtrak 301 is quite amazing symbolism from when it released. It was on Amtrak's newest locomotive, the ALC 42, and it was wearing the oldest livery that Amtrak ever had, which was Day 1, even though it released in November 1971, ironically. But it's still cool seeing one of the oldest Amtrak paint schemes on one of Amtrak's newest locomotives, so I think that's quite a cool choice for what to put a livery onto a locomotive as a heritage unit. Susan Lua 4792 asked, have I ever thought of visiting the California State Railroad Museum at some point? Yes, I want to see their only surviving cab forward. What is my favorite class of 462? Mine are the Southern Pacifics. My favorite class of 462 are the Union Pacific's 462s, especially because of how they managed to streamline one or two of them. Do I have a favorite Japanese steam locomotive? My favorite Japanese steam locomotive would be either the 8620 class or the C62. Blue Comet 833 asked, do I watch Spongebob? If so, what's my favorite season and episode? First off, who hasn't at this point? And second off, although I'm not entirely sure, I have most often found joy in like the first couple of seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I think my personal favorite episode would be Plankton's Army, and while I can't decide a favorite season, I think it's mostly either seasons 2 or 3. Alco C855 fan asks, you think 1218 will ever run again? Well, I don't think it's completely impossible. I do recognize that it's really difficult at the moment, especially getting trackage to get her to run on, and especially refitting her with the parts that didn't get fitted back onto her when the restoration was cancelled, when the Steam program was cancelled. As you remember, I found the as of now only confirmed internet footage of the Virginian AE 21010-2. Play the film if you can. What's my anime reaction to this? This is my reaction. Which of these Norfolk and Western steam locomotives is my favorite? 2143, 2156, 2174, 220, or John Henry? Mine is a John Henry. Mine is 2174. Amtrak Train 5055 asks, what's my favorite passenger rail? Amtrak. What do I think about Norfolk Southern? Well, honestly, it's such a shame about how low it's fallen in just 10 years compared to how how its employees and especially the rail fans thought of it 10 to 15 years ago. Honestly, it's just a shame that Wick Moorman left Norfolk Southern and it's all just gone to hell for Norfolk Southern since. I wish that Norfolk Southern would recover, and also that their attempted getting bought out by the Union Pacific thing ultimately goes down the gutter. What is the best railroad? Canadian Pacific. When did I start rail fanning? I guess since I was like 9 or 10 probably. And finally, what railroad did I first catch? Well, I can't remember for certain. I definitely do remember Dad giving me his phone to record a video on when I was 9. It was right before my 10th birthday, and I was able to record an Amtrak train sitting on the Denver Union Station platform.
We're at Denver right now. We're at the Union Station. That's what the coach is. Well, at the front of the train is this new Siemens locomotive. Huh. I think it's ready to depart.
Keep it on what you're recording.
Huh.
Are you taking a picture?
Those are median rail. Those are the tracks for the commuter rail trains. Dad, you want to hold it?
I can if you want. Do you want to turn off the video or what do you want?
So those are the coaches. Hey, I think there's water in there.
You're all over the place. You gotta make it smooth when you move from place to place.
Can you hold
Just turn it off. Are you done?
Oh,
you.
So, how about those for the coaches?
So yeah, I think I can safely say that was my first ever railfan catch. Mike Studios 216 asks, what got me into Splatoon? Well, I was only about 10 or 15 people on the planet that ever owned the Wii U. In case you didn't know, that was the successor to the Wii, and it flopped hard. Amtrak had more riders in FY 2024 than Wii U sold, just for comparison. So 2015 comes around, and honestly I didn't really care much for the announcements because I didn't know about it, but on Christmas Day in 2015, my dad got me and my sister Splatoon for the Wii U, and we started playing that quite a bit. And honestly, it ultimately got so fun for me. I don't think my sister really latched on, but that's probably because she moved out of the house later on and now she has her own place and her own Nintendo Switch. And I would get both the Nintendo Switch and Splatoon 2 in 2018, and later on Splatoon 3 in 2022 for Christmas. It's a fun game to play for me personally. Will I travel to the East Coast to Railfanning in the future? I just did. Kinda. But I hope to go again sometime in the future too. What is my favorite steam, diesel, and electric locomotive? For steam, 844. For diesel, the Genesis. And for electric, the AEM7. DFP383 asks, if I were to bring back a discontinued Amtrak route, which one would it be and why? I'd bring back the Desert Wind so that there's a Las Vegas rail connection, and so that people from either Denver and or Salt Lake City could go to Vegas, and so that there'd be a Denver and Salt Lake City to SoCal rail connection again. What is my favorite movie by DreamWorks? Over the Hedge. I at one point watched it daily, according to my sister anyways. And honestly, Over the Hedge has taught me that whenever I encounter an HOA who tells me to pay any fees, I just know that I will never pay to the HOA. Amtrak fan 19290 asks, did I hear that Norfolk Southern released 1080? And I'm not retarded. Highball Machine Works asks, what was my favorite scale/model brand? LGB. Psychonauts livestream when? Oh, honestly, I haven't gotten Psychonauts, but maybe I will someday. If by someday you mean I probably will forget about it at some point until you remind me of it again. Are there thoughts on the null Forney/Mason bogies in 15 words or less? Honestly, I have been thinking of making a Forney video with another wheel arrangement or two in the future at some point, so yeah, hopefully that'll be on my radar at some point. In my opinion, what is the best James Coffey song made for I Love Toy Trains? Do I think I'll ever visit Indiana's Hoosier Valley Railroad Museum when I get the chance? Probably. Have I watched any of the Final Destination movies? If so, what's my favorite movie or death in the franchise? Probably the first Final Destination movie is my favorite. Though, if you're really looking for a depressing fact of the day, the high school group that got onto Volay Flight 180 in the beginning is based on an actual high school group that got onto Transworld Airlines Flight 800 that crashed over Long Island. Chessie System and D&D fan asks, do I like the Chessie System? Yes. What was my favorite locomotive? Probably the Union Pacific FEF class. What is my favorite railroad? Canadian Pacific. What is my favorite locomotive/railroad paint? The Daylight Scheme from the Southern Pacific. What is my least favorite thing in all of these questions? Having to answer the same question twice. Railbro the Railfan asks, I have two questions. What is my favorite Class 2 railroad and what place do I want to railfan at the most? My favorite Class 2 railroad is probably Iowa Interstate, and I would like to railfan at Folkston, Georgia the most. Daylight 4451 Productions asks, what was my favorite character from Thomas the Tank Engine? Henry. What was my favorite steam locomotive? Union Pacific 844. Enterprise 1480 asks, do I have my own Thomas headcanon? Okay, so my headcanon as to why we don't see the logging locos after Season 16 is that when the tunnel to Misty Island opened, it was ultimately unprofitable, at least the operation to Misty Island, and ultimately was shut down, but Bash, Dash, and Ferdinand stayed on the island. Then when it was reopened, it seemed to do alright for a bit, but was still shut down again, this time for good. But the logging locos, not wanting to be stuck on the same island with no connection to the outside world, still wanted to be part of a logging operation. And luckily, there was a logging railway on the mainland that needed some locomotives, so Bash, Dash, and Ferdinand went to said logging railway on the mainland. Dash and Bash, though, because of how small they are, can't take long loads past the mainland logging railway, but Ferdinand can, hence the blinking you'll miss it cameo of Ferdinand in Signals Crossed. Is or was Gordon a normal LNER A1 rebuilt into an A3 in your headcanon? Yes or no? No, he's a normal A1. Thoughts on the French-Belgium comic book series Asterix, the Gal Tintin, and Lucky Luke? I haven't seen or read either of them, so I don't really have an opinion on them. What was the most random idea I've ever had in general? In order to prevent cities from getting so warm, we need to create comically large white tarps and send them over our cities. And how's my day going? Good so far, currently with my grandma, and my parents are not here right now. Toasty Sheep 7110 asks, what's my favorite steam engine that goes into the big screen? SP4449. You like I Love Toy Trains or Lots and Lots of Trains? I like I Love Toy Trains, but I do have a bit of a decent spot for Lots and Lots of Trains, even if it wasn't really my childhood train video. Besides anime, what are my favorite TV shows, movies, cartoons, and video games? South Park, King of the Hill, Spongebob, The Office, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, The Fugitive, Unstoppable, WALL-E, Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda, The Emperor's New Groove, Hercules, Aladdin, Railroader, Portal 2, Team Fortress 2, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, and the Yakuza series. Imagine steam locomotive pull freight rather than just excursions? That has happened plenty of times in the past before, though. Favorite railroad-related production company? Mine is Railway Productions. Huh, what a coincidence. Mine is also Railway Productions. County Railroad Productions asks, Arrows or Silverliners? Silverliners. Bud subway cars or Bud multiple units? Bud multiple units. What city anywhere around the world would I like to railfan at the most? Probably maybe like Tokyo or London. Cedar Lake Railfanner asks, best heritage unit? Amtrak 160. Opinions on the Rio Grande? It's awesome! Especially how they have the narrow gauge and standard gauge. Best class of railroad, 1, 2, or 3. 2. Best commuter rail line? Probably the Frontrunner. Is Amtrak cooked? I don't think so right now, but I'm pretty sure all of America that Amtrak is owned by actually is. Ricky BNSF asks, how many heritage units have I seen from each railroad? BNSF sticker units don't count. 5 for Amtrak and 1 each for Norfolk Southern and CSX. Will I ever fully delete the Railfan meme videos? No, the Railfan meme videos will stay up, just with disclaimers in the description saying that I don't do the Railfan meme videos anymore. And maybe I'll have to make another description asking people to stop asking me for what songs are at what point. Just Shazam the damn songs. Will I ever attempt the challenge to survive an hour at Railfan Hell? Yes, if I get the chance. Favorite fallen flag railroad? Again, Rio Grande and Southern Pacific. Bud.
Give me all that after midnight.
LNERJ15 asks, will I ever make an every articulated locomotive in 15 words or less video? I plan on having an every articulated locomotive in 15 words or less video as a grand finale to the 15 words or less series. Besides anime and locomotives, do I have any other significant interests? Airplanes, adult cartoons and cartoons in general, animated movies, and animation in general, including anime. I'm not one of those stupid anything animated is fucked up people. Yes, I hate those kinds of people. Video games, frisbee, and some levels of cooking. The Baconator 1225 asks, do I watch Murder Drones or The Amazing Digital Circus? If so, which is my favorite character? I have not watched either of those. G-Spider7063 asked, what locomotive is my favorite? The Genesis. What locomotive that I fear the most? The BQ23-7. ATSF47 Legit asks, what's the oldest locomotive I have ever seen? These locomotives at the B&O Railroad Museum. What's my opinion on sirens? They're definitely helpful, even if they do sound scary. If the SPSF merger did end up becoming a thing, do I think it would last into modern day? I am most concerned that the SP and ATSF were more of competitors with each other and therefore wouldn't have been very compatible with each other. And therefore I'm concerned that it probably would have ended up like Penn Central. Although with some luck and good management, if SPSF did happen, then it would probably exist to this day and be successful. That's just my opinion though. If I'm interested, what's a Fumo that I really want? Cerno. Kodachrome? Yes. Thanks if I do end up answering these. Hopefully they didn't run me off the rails. Sure didn't. Genesis Railfan 1507 asks, since the Railway series is 80 years old, favorite aspects of the 1983 Down the Line pilot? Definitely the initial models that they used for the pilot. Will I visit the UK for steam power? Yes, I would like to do that at some point. Misty Island.
Misty Island Rescue, here we go. Misty Island Rescue, here we go.
Unreal Computer 8 asks, best fallen flag in New England, other than the New Haven B&M and NYC? The Main Central. Should Communipaw Terminal, CNJ, be reactivated, and how so? Okay, someone's gonna need to take some notes for this. So the way I would reactivate Communipaw Terminal would be as a station that would be a destination for the Statue of Liberty and also connect the national network to the World Trade Center, Penn Station, and Grand Central. My proposal would be to have a set of 2 tracks from the Morristown line start to go underground near South Carney Yard, and have a set of 2 tracks from the Conrail line on the National Docks branch also go underground. The 2 sets of double tracks would connect at the Communipaw Terminal, with it being reactivated as a station underground in ways similar to Grand Central Madison with 2 platforms to serve as a destination to the Statue of Liberty, with the light rail being extended to Communipaw to connect with the station. Meanwhile, after the station, the 2 sets of double tracks would form one line and go underneath the Hudson River before turning north and going to a station at the World Trade Center, with 2 tracks for stopping trains and another 2 for trains that aren't stopping. There would then be another stop at New York University in ways similar to the World Trade Center stop I mentioned earlier. Then it would reach Penn Station, going to a level below the current Penn Station level, with about 10 tracks and as many as 8 platforms to serve these tracks, similar in ways to 30th Street Station. Then the tracks would converge into 2 tracks again and turn east before turning north again to finally connect with the Metro North lower level terminal tracks at Grand Central Station. Meanwhile, back in Jersey, the Jersey Central line that goes over the Newark Bay would be rebuilt and reactivated, with the connection southbound being reactivated as well, with the connection southbound being reactivated, as well as a section of the CNJ connecting to the Raritan Valley line also being reactivated. All the new and or reactivated tracks in New Jersey would be double tracked and electrified, as well as the sections underneath New York for that matter. With this, the World Trade Center would get a national network connection, Penn Station and Grand Central would be connected for the first time, Communipaw Terminal would be reactivated, and opportunities for train lines could be big, especially without the need to have to switch a train around like a train from DC to Ottawa, and other trains from the Central Atlantic and Southeast to Ontario, if not Montreal. Yes, I know, my idea sounds crazy. There are probably a couple of holes in my arguments and logic. This has next to zero chance of ever being reality, and even if my idea were to be taken seriously, it would cost a big sum of money. But I don't think that has stopped other people from liking and supporting other. It's almost completely impossible based on current levels of government support for trains proposals. So I'm not sure why someone who isn't me wouldn't take this idea seriously. Should we dig out the two GG1s in Coopersville Junction, New York to bring one to Altoona and one to the DRM? If they exist, sure. What's better for a commuter rail line to buy for new locomotives? Used from NRE and Larry's or new locomotives from like Alstom and Stadler? I think it depends on exactly what you're looking for. If you're on a shoestring but you still desire something that's newer than your current fleet, you'd probably go with the used locomotives from various leasers or railroads, if not also rebuilt locomotives. If you're going, I want to completely overhaul my fleet and I have plenty of money to do so, then it's possible that you could go with brand new locomotives, especially ones that are already proven. 13713 and 1127 update. When the RTD B line extension opens. Dino Doug 1 asked, what's my favorite Fallen Flag Railroad? Again, Rio Grande and Southern Pacific. While Kesha Subdivision Railfan asked, will I ever go to visit Wisconsin? Probably for an official visit in the future, maybe. Do I think the Wisconsin Southern is an okay Class 2 railroad? It is.
The Milwaukee Road.
Okay, goodbye, I'm done yapping. Stefan Trainboy Railfan Brony asked, do I like MLP FIM? I do somewhat like My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I think it's a fun show, and although the target audience for the show was little kids, even though the audience that came of it was the reverse actually, and by that I mean teens and adults.
A red spy is in the base.
It still feels like it's a show that's honestly is more than just a show for little kids. Like, there are genuinely some things that probably that not a lot of kids shows these days would talk about. Like, there's one episode where Princess Luna is genuinely actively self-harming herself. Overall, I feel like MLP FIM is quite a good show. And I'd pretty much say, oh cool, nice, if somebody said that they loved MLP FIM. But at the same time, I'm not exactly getting pissed if somebody said that they hated MLP FIM. Either way, I still somewhat like My Little Pony. Gee, I wonder what kind of comment somebody is typing over me just for saying that I like MLP FIM. Sorry that I made you mad. Vbreed25 asked, if I could bring back one scrap steam locomotive, what would it be? Again, the Rio Grande 484 Westerns. What's my general opinion on railfan drama? Personally, I think it sucks, but at least you make money off of it when you talk about the drama. Conrail Carl 6112 asked, favorite Indian locomotive? Probably the WAG 4. Southern Transcon Productions asks, what's my favorite type of Rio Grande K-Class? Probably the K28. Bryce Hunsinger asked, what's my opinion on the CSX Heritage units? I think the way CSX designed them actually seems very unique. The fact that the cab is in the current CSX scheme, while the hood is in the Heritage scheme, actually feels like cool symbolism to which they seem to have gone with. I personally wasn't anticipating the design CSX did, but it has grown on me and I have come to like the design. And it does somewhat remind me of YN2, so that's also a plus in my book. Also, as a side note, although a lot of people still like to call the units as fade units, I personally like to call the post-1871 units blankets. I also saw this as more natural than the actual NS-4851 when it released. Sui Kasi asked, what feature that a railroad fans need to have? A liking of trains. Henry the Railfan asked, what heritage units or steam engines have I seen? Quite a lot over the years, absolutely. Edward 148XI6JW asked, what's my opinion about the Sugar Express and should they expand their rail lines to new places like the R&N? I definitely think that it's really cool that the Sugar Express has an active steam locomotive, that being 148. And it's awesome that they also have her on not just excursions, but also the regular sugar trains too. And maybe they could expand, but I'm not 100% sure. The Oklahoma Hot Trail asked, in my opinion, when it comes to Malay locomotives, which ones are the best and worst in looks, operations, and popularity? I think the best would be the Union Pacific Challengers, both the 3900s and the 3800s. And while I don't 100% hate them, I think the worst is the jointed boiler locomotive. ZOZ Productions asked, is Thomas a tank engine? Yes, he is. Cab Productions asked, do I like War Thunder? Yes, I do. Official SEIC 2K6 asked, what's my opinion on Sprunky? If you don't know what it is, it's a mod of Incredibox which is overly popular for unknown reasons. I have no opinion on that, sorry. LA Real Videos asked, favorite model train scale? HO scale. Opinion of T1 Trust, I think it's genuinely awesome that they're building a big locomotive from the ground up. And I honestly hope that this also inspires other railroad enthusiasts to also start their own programs of extinct steam locomotives that they rebuild from the ground up. Opinion on California high-speed rail? Well, damned if I do and damned if I don't. And I'm also going to get a bunch of comments from people who hate California for existing anyways, so I might as well give my opinion about California high-speed rail. I genuinely think that it's a good project. The San Fran Bay and the LA Basin's closest rail connection is the Coast Starlight, and even then you can't go directly into San Francisco, so this project should be able to bridge the two cities with a high-speed train. It also has started construction in an area that has often been impoverished with people needing employment, that being the Central Valley, which is where the project has started and is continuing. The project will also connect the Bay and the Basin with the Central Valley, so the connectivity will be a plus. I also think the project has a major opportunity to connect San Francisco with Vegas via high-speed rail, especially when it comes to Brightline West and a high desert corridor. So the concept in general is awesome, and the fact that they have stopped merely talking about it and have actually begun constructing the project is genuinely a good thing. But I feel like the system has made a major error when it comes to its routing, since a lot of it is along the San Joaquin's line, and it cuts through a bunch of farms. That definitely necessitated the need to purchase land, which from what I've heard has driven up the costs and threw a wrench into the project's plans. I genuinely think they should have built the project along Highway 99, which is straighter and also land that the state already owns, so it would have been cheaper. Honestly, with the routing, it feels like they're trying to replace the San Joaquin's, or Gold Runner depending on when you're watching this. And I feel like the CHSR system should supplement the San Joaquin's or Gold Runner, not replace it, unless they'll reroute the San Joaquin's onto the Union Pacific, which good luck on that. Either way, if I were someone at CHSR leadership, I'd suggest for the next phases of construction to build lines along highways to reduce right-of-way acquisition costs. And hey, if the state government is not exactly a fan of the current federal government, then they could always use the money that would have gone or are currently going to the feds and redirect it to the CHSRA to pay for the project and bridge the funding gaps. Either way, I genuinely think this is a good project and I want it to finish and succeed. And hey, if Brightline could help, let them help. Well, might as well wait around and see how the comments think of my opinions on CHSR and also about the fact that California exists. Amtrak Productions MX9IB asked, have I ever seen any truck cars try to beat any trains? I've definitely seen a couple of people and bikers try to beat the train across the crossing. And although a lot of them have succeeded, I am genuinely concerned that I am about to see somebody get killed by a train because they tried to beat it over a crossing. Kennewick Railfan Production 2201 asked, what is my favorite diesel locomotive type from the Burlington Northern Santa failure? The Dash 9. Psycho Blood asked, if Amtrak preserves any of their P40 or P42s in the future, which road number should it be? Amtrak 800 definitely, for one. It honestly feels like somebody at the Beech Grove shops is trying to get Amtrak 800 preserved. Which former Steam Excursion star would I love to see return to operation again? Frisco 1522. Which predecessor railroad would I want to bring back? The Rio Grande. My reaction to New York Central 3001 being restored?
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Should a replica of a New York Central Hudson be built? Yes. Darren Hudson G2X asked, what's the rarest lash-up from each railroad that I've seen? Definitely the rarest lash-ups I've seen are those with either foreign units or unusual paint schemes. The Fourth Stooge 04 asked, do I like Amtrak? Yes, I do. Trainmaster J1225 asked, when is the every 46010 Wheeler video coming out? It's currently on pause as I am not at Fort Collins right now, but when I get back to Fort Collins later this month, I plan on resuming work on it, and I'm currently having a target release of either September or October, so definitely look forward to that. Real Tomo Takino asked, NS32N when? Right now. Bryce Hunsinger asked, are there any more 15 words or less videos coming? The next 15 words or less video will be the 46010 Wheeler video, or videos. Then it will be every 10 driver wheel arrangement locomotive in 15 words or less. Then after that, every 442 Atlantic in 15 words or less. And hopefully for the next 4th of July, every 440 American type in 15 words or less. SNJ Production CR asked, do I approve of South Jersey CSAL operations? You should come down and see them. I do approve of them. Anthony7175 asked, where is this? In your walls. Florida Steamer asked, what rail-related project am I the most excited for? I'm most excited for Front Range Passenger Rail, which will connect the Front Range's most populous cities with Denver. Honestly, I want to become a conductor on Front Range Passenger Rail should it become reality. If I could travel back in time to any major rail event, what would it be? The day the Moffat Tunnel was opened. West Coast 2010 Railfan asked, least favorite Fallen Flag Railroad? Probably the Litchfield and Madison Railway, because I don't really find it very interesting and it doesn't really show that much, and then it shows that it was merged into the Chicago and Northwestern. So, what was the first railroad I saw? Definitely remember seeing BNSF first. Personal favorite steam star? Union Pacific 844. Favorite diesel locomotive from EMD and GMD? The SD70 Mac. Tank Engine Media asked, what is my favorite locomotive from the US and the UK? My favorite locomotive from each for the US is the AEM7, And for the UK is the LMS Black 5. Favorite railroad paint scheme? Again, Southern Pacific Daylight.
The Milwaukee Road.
Alright, and that should be almost all of the questions. Andrew the Rocket City Railfan 4014 asked, what's my dream job? My dream job right now is to be a conductor on Amtrak. Am I considering a career in the rail industry? Right now, I'm honestly considering a career in electrical work, since that seems to have the most demand and the highest pay too. I honestly am somewhat considering railroad work, but at the same time, they say that making your hobby as your profession is the easiest way to kill your hobby, and so I'm honestly a bit concerned about that. And what's my favorite rail fanning experience? My favorite rail fanning experience was when I was able to go to Cumberland, Maryland, see some CSX action, and ride behind Western Maryland 1309. And with that last comment, that is it for this year's Q&A. Thank you guys for asking questions, and thank you for watching this video. Until next time, sparkle, sparkle, sparkle. Have a good day, everybody, and stay fresh.